Hi, I'm Professor Lynn Ritchey, and in this video, we're going to take a look at nonverbal behavior and nonverbal communication. Nonverbal behavior is any behavior that has the potential to become a nonverbal message, even our sleeping behaviors. Our nonverbal behavior becomes nonverbal communication when someone interprets our behavior as having meaning. What does your sleep position say about you? In the United States, men tend to be more direct communicators, relying on the message, whereas women tend to be more indirect communicators, relying on the meta message. If a woman gives the silent treatment, a man might not interpret the nonverbal behavior as a message. If the other does not interpret our nonverbal behavior as a message, our behavior remains nonverbal behavior. If we did not intend to send a message and someone interprets our behavior as a message, it becomes nonverbal communication. We often become accustomed to our own odors and might not recognize that our odors are sending others messages. For example, non-smokers can identify smokers, and non-pet owners can identify pet owners and the type of pet. Remember, it is during the perception phase that we attribute meaning to the behaviors of others. Let's take a look at the functions of nonverbal communication. The first function is complementing. This is when our nonverbal behavior enhances the verbal message. The second function is contradicting. This is when our nonverbal behavior is inconsistent with the verbal message. In this situation, we will tend to believe the nonverbal message over the verbal message. The third function is repeating. This is when our nonverbal behavior can stand alone without the verbal message. The fourth is regulating. This is when our nonverbal behaviors are used to control the flow of the conversation. Next is substituting. These are nonverbal messages that actually replace the verbal message. The final function is accenting. This is when our nonverbal behaviors are meant to emphasize a part of our verbal message. We can classify nonverbal behavior into a number of categories to help us as we are observing other people. Let's take a look at these. One category is physical appearance. This includes height, skin tone, weight, age, attractiveness, hair, clothing, disability. How do sales clerks typify customers based on physical appearance? And how does this influence the interaction? Another category of nonverbal behavior is gestures. This is commonly known as our body language, and these are visible movements of the body that others interpret as a message. This includes our facial expressions and our eye behaviors. Our emotions are captured in our facial movements. Dr. Paul Ekman identified 7 universal emotions: anger, contempt, disgust, enjoyment, fear, sadness, and surprise. What nonverbal behaviors help you determine if another is not telling the truth? Another category are our vocal behaviors. Conversational signals, devices, and traits are all nonverbal behaviors, part of the meta message. We have already explored proxemics and cultural variations in the use of space. We have also looked at touch by distinguishing high, moderate, and low contact cultures. How is touch used in our daily lives? There's 3 factors to touch: the frequency, how often, the duration, how long, and the intensity, the amount of pressure. Inappropriate touching can be perceived as romantic intent or worse. Another category we can observe is our environment. When you enter a room or building, what message is being sent? What is typical for that space, and how do you know? How does an environment make you feel? What objects do you focus on to confirm your feelings? Scents and smells can also create or discourage connections during an interactions. How do people use scents and smells when they're trying to sell their house? Remember, the scent you love may not be loved by all. We have explored chronemics, or how we use our time. We looked at polychronic versus monochronic cultures. What do you think and feel when people are late? Finally, we can look at artifacts. These are items we use to make ourselves more attractive, or so we think. What are we trying to communicate with our artifacts? Just like our verbal language, we learn our nonverbal language by interacting with others through our socialization process, and therefore we will see cultural differences in how these categories are used and interpreted. If you'd like to explore nonverbal behavior more, I recommend the Nonverbal Dictionary. Next up, we're going to take a look at some cross-cultural differences in our communication styles. Okay, we'll see you soon.